What's going on, guys? Wanted to share a video of my most memorable moments. So I want to share about 3 of these with you. I had many, but specifically because these moments were moments that reminded me and let me know that, okay, I'm on the right track. Things are changing. Keep going because soon you'll be where you want to be. Now, I know what it's like to be on the journey, especially if you're starting in a place where, let's say, you're not having love with dating, you're not having love with women, you're getting rejected left and right. It's frustrating. You're feeling like this ain't for you. You want to give it up. Don't stop now. Because once you get on the other side of that, there's so much beauty in having choice and abundance. But also, when women love being around you, when women want to be around you, and they're nurturing and they're loving and they're feminine for you, it does something to the masculine side of you. Like, it just ignites that fire in you. And so once you cross that hump and you start to have women in your life, especially women that you're attracted to, that you love being around, you notice that you become a different person. So I want to go ahead and share these experiences so that you guys can hopefully stay on track and not deter off or give up or start slacking or get lazy on it. Consistency is key, and that will definitely get you where you want to go. So let's go ahead and jump into our first story. So actually, before we jump into this, I want to make a disclaimer. As you're listening to these stories, remember, it's not about getting laid. It's not about having sex. It's not about scoring. It's not about using these women for sex. It's about you as a person growing your ability to connect, learning skills, learning how to not be as tense, learning how to relax, learning how to work with the nervousness, learning how to work with the fear. It's not about using women. It's not about trying to score a goal or trying to abuse them in any way. It's literally just about your growth and your ability to connect, enhancing. All right, on to our first one. So when I first started working with Brian, this was somewhere probably at, I would say, maybe 2016, 2015, I did a workshop with him. And at the end of this workshop, Monday came and I was working at the library. So I went back to work at the library that Monday, and I just noticed everything was starting to change. My ability to look people in the eyes and hold eye contact with people without getting tight and tense was really starting to show up. And because I was doing that, I noticed that I had more people's attention. And I also noticed that certain girls were giving me the vibe when they weren't giving me the vibe before I had done this work with Brian. And so it was very fascinating to me. So I would say probably about a week or two after doing this workshop, I'm at the desk, I'm working the desk, and there's a regular who comes in here, and it's this really beautiful girl. She's light-skinned, she's mixed black and white, just my preference at the time, right? And so she comes and she returns her books, or she checks out books, one of the two, I don't remember, right? Details. So she comes, checks out books, we small talk for a little bit like we always do, and then she leaves. And I remember in the split second thinking to myself, you should get up and go out and go get her number, because you like her. And she obviously likes you too, because she's really good at holding eye contact with you. And she likes those little lingering pauses. And usually to me, when a girl enjoys those lingering pauses, like the eye contact, and there's not much being said, but she's still just there connecting with you in the eyes, to me, that's just a clear sign. So this is the early stages of me realizing that. So she left, I got up, chased her down the street. She had already got like a half block down. And I told her, I said, we should go out sometime, I like you. And just right there with her, really connected with her. And she got all girly and excited and a little nervous. And we chatted for a little bit. She gave me her number. And so this was cool for me. This was like the realization that, oh, I can actually start to have the girls that I want in my life, the types of girls that I want in my life. Because up until that point, I had been scared to approach a certain type of girl. I've been scared to talk to a certain type of girl because I had stories. It's like a lot of us have as guys, right? I'm not good enough. She's not gonna like me. There's a guy who's in better shape than me, 6 foot tall. He's got money. He's got a nice car. I didn't have any of that. I'm working at a library, making just a little bit above minimum wage, and that's it. And to have that work out for me was just awesome. Now, the story didn't end like I wanted it to end, but it was still a very significant experience for me earlier on, because it kept me going, because I was like, okay, if that can happen, then it can definitely happen with other girls too. So, and I'm going on a couple of dates with her, probably about 3 or 4 dates with her. But I was still kind of wet behind the ear. I was still kind of wet behind the ear when it came to being on dates with women, right? Because the approaching thing was one thing, but actually being with women for long periods of time, I was still very nervous and I was still getting into my head. Like I remember going on about 3 dates with her and being in the car thinking that, oh shit, I can't believe I'm on this date with her. What do I say? What do I do? And so that happened a few times. We actually going out on our last date. I remember we went to the beach and this is the first time I actually seen her get really girly. Like she was dressing really pretty. Like it felt like a date, right? And me being dumb, I didn't really catch it. And there was just so many opportunities on that date to kiss her, and I just did not take them. There were so many opportunities to grab her hand and hold it, and I just did not take it. And I remember when I brought her back to her place, I dropped her off, and I was so upset at myself because I didn't take those signs, and I was wondering what she thought about me because I didn't do it. And she still wanted to hang out, but me, now I was embarrassed. And so I just cut back. I just fell back. I just stopped talking to her, started talking to her less and less until we just stopped talking completely. And it was a very defining moment for me, for sure, because that period of frustration, I was just like, okay, next time I'm not going to do that. Next time I'm just going to go risk it anyway. So that was one of the real key moments earlier on, right after Fearless, that made me feel like you're onto something. Now, I'm going to share the second story because this second story was fucking awesome to me. This one really fucking went a lot further than definitely that story went. And it really made me believe that, dude, you're super onto something. Fucking keep going. Don't stop right now. So the second story is this. I'm working at the library. This is probably about a month or so, or a few weeks after the first story I just told you. So there's another girl who comes in who's a regular, and this is another girl who's she comes and she checks out books, and you know there's a little prolonged eye contact going on. She's really sweet. You can tell she's really innocent and wholesome. And I remember this day she came in, and I had been thinking about her for about a week, and I had been thinking to myself, if you see her again, you need to talk to her, because the last time I talked to her, I just couldn't pull the trigger to get her number. So she came in one day, we chatted for a little bit, she dropped some books off, and then she went to go check out some more books. She went to go look at some more books. So I went and I chased her down to this apartment, and I remember I couldn't find her in the aisles, and eventually I did find her, and I told her, I said, hey, I forget what I said. It was something to the effect of, hey, I always see you here. I think you're very cute, and I want to take you out sometime. And to her, it was just kind of like question marks on her head. She was just like, why? Like that was her response. Her response was why. And I remember being in that moment and kind of coming up in my body like, oh, I don't know why, you know, that kind of thing. And I was just like, I don't know, I just think really pretty. And she was like, okay, well, take my number. And I didn't feel like she really got why I was trying to get her number. Like I really didn't feel like she really got it. But later I learned that she was just a very innocent person, and she really was very wholesome and innocent. She hadn't had a whole lot of experience or any experience with men as far as I knew. Found that out later, but still was a very awesome girl. So I got her number. We texted a little bit, tried to get her on the date. She kind of dodged me once or twice. And then I think I called it out over text one day, or I called her on the phone and I called it out that she was ducking and dodging. And so she was just like, okay, well, let's go meet up. Let's go eat some ramen. So we went out and got some ramen. Not this kind of ramen, but we got ramen, an actual ramen restaurant. Hung out with her. It was just a really solid date. Took her back to her house. It was great. So we're going out again for a second date. We're going to a different ramen place. And I remember on this date, she was just looking really sexy to me. And I was just thinking to myself as we were sitting at this ramen place that I don't want to make the same mistake that I had always been making, which is that I'll take a girl out on a date and it'll get to the end of the date. And what I want on this date is to go back to my place and have some fun, but I would always shoot myself in the foot and either just take her back home or take her for like a walk somewhere. So there was a part of me that was holding back, and I was scared to be sexually forward. I was scared to have my wants, needs, desires met, right? I was very scared to say any of that out of fear of offending the girl that was sitting in front of me. And so I remember on this day, it was very clear. It was almost like a movie scene. I finished my ramen. She's still sipping on hers. She's finishing hers. She pulls the bowl down, puts herself to the side, looks me right in the eye and says, now what do you want to do? And this is probably about 9 o'clock at night. And again, I have been very notorious for just taking girls back to their place and dropping them off. And I didn't want to do that this time. I want to risk it. And I was kind of just feeling like if I fuck this up, it's okay. But I need to say it, because if I don't say it, I'm going to keep having dates that end like this, and I'm tired of it. So she looked at me and she said, what do you want to do? And I said, honestly, I want to take you back to my place. And she, like literally without batting an eye, me, very nervous, up in my body, she was like, okay, let's go. Grabbed her purse and we left and went back to my house and we fooled around. And I remember dropping her off again that night thinking, what just happened, man? But it was also just a kind of a reminder that Brian was always telling me, you gotta speak your truth, you have to say what you actually feel. Be honest, right? Women want real. Women don't want you to BS them and beat around the bush. Even if let's say you put out sex and what you wanted was sex, and she didn't reciprocate that back and she didn't want it, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that you went for it anyway. Maybe she's not in a place where she wants to do that right now. Maybe she's not in a place where she can do that right now. Maybe she's on a period. Maybe she's seeing somebody else. We don't really know, right? But even as men, it's our job to put that out there anyway, just because it is the truth. It's not be dishonest. So that was another one of those moments where I was just like, going forward, I'm always doing this. And I did. And ever since that one, I always do it going forward. I always initiate if I'm feeling that way. So I hope that helps you guys. Let's jump to our third story, all right? Our third story is this. I'm gonna tell you why this story is important. Now, to me, this is one of my best approaches, because in this approach, this is where everything that I had ever learned from Brian was at play. Grounding was at play. Eye contact was at play. Letting her in and feeling her in my body was at play. Sending energy her way was at play. And it was like maybe a 10 to 15 minute conversation in the parking lot, but I kid you not, it felt like it was like 30 to 45 minutes of a conversation. But it was so, what's the word? It was so sticky that when I left that interaction, probably for the first time, I felt like, I know this girl's gonna hit me back. I have no doubt that we're gonna connect, no doubt that we're gonna hang out. Like, it was zero complete doubt. Up until that point, I had always had a little bit of doubt, wasn't really sure if girls were gonna text back. And on top of that, this girl at the time, she was a 10 to me. Again, mixed girl, curly hair, probably about my height, dressed really fucking well, took care of herself really nicely, drove a nice Mercedes-Benz. Not that all that matters, but at the time it did, because at the time I didn't feel like I was that person who can be with this type of girl, right? Because again, I didn't have a job. I quit my job. I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. My car was really beat up on, and I just didn't feel like I was that dude. But this kind of goes to show that you can have what you want, and if you just fix the internal stuff, right? Externally, you don't have to be this great looking guy. You don't gotta be this guy who drives for Mercedes. You don't have to be any of that. You just gotta feel confident on the inside and know how to connect. That's all it comes down to. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Now, let's jump to the story. So I'm out on 3rd Street Promenade and I don't have a job. I had been out there for probably about 2 weeks. This is the second week I'm out there, right? Because I was going every single day, because that's all I wanted to do every day was approach. And I was having little moments here and there. I was having little instant dates with girls that I was meeting. I was having just these little occurrences that were just like, okay, cool, we're on this one. Let's keep going, let's keep going, let's keep going. And I met this girl in the parking lot one day because I was walking back to my car because I made myself an egg sandwich, because I was making my own meals at home and bringing them in like a little Ziploc bag. So I was going to my car to get my sandwich. I got my sandwich, and on my way back to 3rd Street Promenade, I see this girl coming up the stairs in the parking lot. And I see her start walking to her car. She passed me, and we kind of nodded at each other. And I thought to myself, go back and talk to her. And so I turned around, I went back and I approached her. And I was very direct approach. I thought you were very beautiful. And she stopped, she planted with me. She connected, and we started talking. And so I learned about all the things that she was into. She was into spirituality. She was into all this, energy work, like basically all the stuff that Brian teaches, she was kind of into that stuff. So we were resonating at that level. And we were just so connected. She wouldn't drop the eye contact with me. And it was just fucking like, it was just very milky. And I was just, my body was getting turned on for her. I could see she was feeling me be turned on for her. She was also getting a little excited too. And so cool, we exchanged numbers. And I remember thinking, okay, this is gonna go really well. So I was like, probably about 2 days later, I end up texting her because she worked in the area. I text her, I say, hey, what are you up to right now? And she's like, oh, I'm just getting off work. What are you doing right now? And I was just obviously out there just approaching. Honestly, I was just in the area. And so she was like, I told her, I said, I'm just hanging out thirsty. She was like, well, I'll come get you. And I was like, okay, cool. And she pulls up in this nice fucking clean ass Mercedes Benz, like brand new to me. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh shit, like this is that type of girl. Because I didn't see her car when I was in the parking lot. She didn't get to her car yet. And so I had all these stories about this come up immediately. I was like, oh, when that car pulled up and I got in it, I didn't feel like this guy who was like, oh yeah, I'm confident. This is my life. No, I didn't feel like that. I felt like this is a fucking clean ass car. This is a nice ass car. She's a girl who's probably higher scale or higher class or higher value, right? And to me, what that felt like was I felt more inferior. But I started to release it as I was in the car. I started to let it go and release it and look at it and let it go as I'm talking to her. And so we're driving, boom, boom, boom. She's like, well, where do you want to go? And I'm like, well, I always like want to hang out at the hookah lounge just because you can sit, you can chill, you can talk. So I was like, let's go to the hookah lounge. She was like, okay. She was like, where? And I was like, well, there's one over maybe 3 or 4 miles away. It's in you know, you guys probably don't know if you're not from LA, but it's in Culver City. And so anyways, so we're driving towards Culver City, and at some point in the car, she's like, you know what? I gotta go back and I have to take my dog out to use the restroom because I've been at work all day. And I was like, okay. And so to me in my head, it was like, okay, she's probably trying to not do this date thing. And I was like, kind of going a little bummed out about it. And so, she was like, I don't really, she's like, I want to take you back, but I don't really know you that well. And I was like, what do you think, I'm gonna kill you? And she was like, I don't know you. And I was like, yes, you don't know me. So I was like, you should try and see. Or I said something like that, something cheesy, whatever. However it came out, that's how it came out. And so she started to relax. She had comfort with the idea. And so we went back to her place. And so she took her dog off for a walk. And then she was like, do you want some wine? And I was like, okay. And again, mind you, I'm still just a little bit wet behind the ear, right? The approaching thing is getting better, but spending a lot of time with women, I'm still not really getting it 100%. So this is the training grounds. This is practice. And so we're hanging out, we're having some wine. She goes into the other room, she changes her clothes from her work clothes to her sexy yoga outfit that she tights. It was looking so good, man. It was looking so good. And so we started having wine. And we're sitting on the couch. I grab her leg, I put it up on my thighs, and start rubbing her legs. And we're just chatting about shit. I don't remember what we're chatting about. We're just chatting about shit. And we're connected, and it's going really well. And I remember thinking to myself, I've got to get back to my car because it's still in the parking lot at the promenade. I got to get back to it because I didn't want to get the fees. And she was just kind of like, I was like, can you take me back? And she was like, you've been drinking wine. Like, I don't want you to drive. I've been drinking wine. I can't drive you down there. And I was like, okay. She was like, just stay here. And I was just like, okay. But in my head, I was like, okay, we're going to sleep on this couch. I'm going to sleep on this couch. And she's going to sleep in her room. And so she comes and she's like, I'm already shaking thinking about it again. It's making me nervous. And this is how nervous I was when I was there with her. So anyway, sorry, this is such a long video. I won't share it, but check it out. So she goes, she takes a shower. I sit on the couch and start laying down. She gets out the shower. She comes into the living room. She's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm sleeping on the couch. And she was like, no, you're gonna sleep with me. She gave me some towels. She told me to go take a shower. So I went and took a shower, came back, got in bed with her. She was wearing like a gown with like nothing under it. And again, still wet behind the ear at the time. All this is going on. I'm so nervous that I can't see clearly and I can't think clearly. So all this is going on, and in my head, I'm still not thinking that she wants to have sex, because that part of me that was like, oh, she's still this higher value woman. She doesn't want to have sex with me. So that was the disconnect. The disconnect was there. So this story is so powerful because that while that disconnect is going on, I'm having a physical different reality experience happening in real time. Though internally I'm like, nah, this girl doesn't want to have sex with me. I don't know why I'm in the bed with her. She's not wearing any panties. Like, this is completely stupid. Now, I won't tell you the rest of the story. I'll just kind of leave it at that. But let's just say I had a lot to learn. I had a lot to learn still. But again, that was another one of those very defining moments that was like, okay, now you're starting to have experiences that are closer to what you actually want in your life. And so I hope you guys can take those experiences, look at the little nuggets in them, right? Look at the gems in them, look at the little pieces of wherever you are, right? How it relates to you and your situation. Maybe you're a little wet behind the ear. Maybe you're not 100% sure if I'm gonna like you or not. Maybe, maybe you're just kind of like unsure of your ability. Should I go approach this girl? Should I not? Just show up. Just show up. Because once you start having these experiences more consistently, the doubt that you have, the fear that you have, the worry that you have will be met with resistance. And that resistance is going to come from the voice inside of you that says, oh, I've had this experience. Oh, I've had that experience. Had a girl take me on a date, pay for me. Had a girl take me back to her house, want to have sex with me. The resistance is going to be met with those voices. And the more you start to have more of those experiences, the negative thoughts are going to have even more to push against. So go out, keep killing it. I love hearing stories from guys. So if you guys got some cool stories, drop them in the comments, man, because anybody who's watching these videos can actually look in the comments and see that this stuff is actually working for people. They're a little more bought into it, right? And all it really takes is a little bit of belief and action. Belief and action. You pair those together, you guys will start killing it completely, okay? So, hope you enjoyed those stories. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit like and subscribe. We got more content coming out the pipeline. I'm here to serve you guys and get you guys to be a little bit more confident than you are right now, so you guys can really start to have the dating life that you guys want to experience. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.